I'm fighting for senior citizens' rights since I'm a senior citizen now. So I will go out and join with people who are fighting for the same thing. My happiness is, my contentment, my excitement in life is, okay, I will work towards getting it. I have energy left, I have knowledge left, I've gained that, and I'm going to use it to fight for it. I was born and raised in Sudbury. I was the only girl among 6 boys. I wasn't allowed to play the games they were playing. I wasn't allowed to shout out loud like they were, and different kind of things like that. By the time I entered school at 6, I know I was resentful of that already. My mother praised me. I was a quiet child. And so I wanted to please my mother, so I stayed quiet and never said anything. At 13, they put me to a Catholic school. Well, we had to go to Mass every morning, and we had to hold our hands this way, and we couldn't dress the way we wanted. We had black dresses. And inside, it prevented me from concentrating on my studies. They said, she's not bright enough, so you'd better take her out of school. The aunts and the grandmothers saying, well, she's not just going to stay there doing nothing. Marie, you better show your daughter to scrub floors and wash dishes, and she's got to be useful. So I started working hard. I wasn't a happier child. But my mother, she'd say, well, do like I do. When I'm unhappy, I scrub floors. But I'd find to my pots and pans, so to me that didn't make sense. When people would gather, I would really hear everything that was going on without then being aware that I was around. So the women were saying it's hard being married and talking about the hardships they had. But when they were out in public, they never spoke. In my youngest mind, that was bad. And even in those days, I remember, when I grow up, I hope I don't do that. Not wanting that kind of life, but still living it, built up this terrible frustration inside of me. And they told you marriage would solve a lot of this unhappiness I was feeling. So at that age, you start looking at the fellas and you think, well, you're going to get married. So I met this particular fellow I liked better than the rest. And my father said, you are not going to go out with a lot of fellas. If you like one, you stick with that one, because in that way, you don't get into trouble. So at 18, I got married. I didn't know till I got married what he meant by trouble.
Dreamt of home and babies. Ivy-covered cottage and a man who loved me and rosy-cheeked babies.
Organizers today are housewives. A housewife had to do so much in so little time.
I used to work till 10 o'clock at night, come home and cook and bake. And on the weekends I do my washing and my cleaning and my ironing and my sewing. You know, makes a wreck out of you too.
You did a lot of bookkeeping to be able to keep the family together, especially if you have a very limited budget to raise a family. I wanted to buy a little home. We're living in an apartment. So I went out and looked for a job. I went to Manpower, and they said, well, what have you done in your life? Well, I said, I've stayed home. And they said, well, you must know how to cook. Then I said, yeah. And they said, well, we've got a job here in a restaurant. Short order cook, they call it. I was happy. I was going to earn money for the first time in my life. I was singing at my work because in the house I was used to singing away. And the boss came out. Behind me I hear this big voice, I hired a cook, not an opera singer. I don't want any singing in this kitchen. And that angered me so much. And I said, you can do the job better than me? Okay, take my apron and you do it. And I walked off. When you work out, you just don't do that. I worked hard, bought clothes for my children, bought wax to wax the floor, paid the phone bill and all that. But I didn't put anything aside, didn't put a pension aside. All our lives, we've worked hard, and it's never been recognized. And so we're left not thinking much of ourselves, and that makes me angry.
Everything good? What's the matter? Can I say thank you?
How many years of service did I give to the country? Raising my children, and now they're answering needs of the society around us. I'm not recognized for that. I don't think a society can survive without this contribution. Can you imagine? A man going out to work for a company, coming home tired, and he has to make his own meals, he has to look after his own children. He would have to do all that? Like a company couldn't survive. And yet I find the company my husband worked for, when he dies, and I just found out this week, I'm angry at that. I get half his pension. And I kept that company going because if I hadn't done what I did in the house, my husband wouldn't have been able to work for that company 40 years. 20 years and he would have been down in his grave. For 44 years I worked in a home. I will never get a pension for that.
My father didn't think that women needed an education. I quit school in grade 11 and took a job at housework for one of the school teachers, if you believe it. $10 a month in my room and board. I used to give my mom and dad half of it because things were tough at home. But I was disappointed because I couldn't finish my education. I really liked school. When I got married and had stars in my eyes, I was going to stay home and be a wife and mother, and I thought I had the world by the tail. The man I married, things just didn't work out, and I had to go back to work to support my children. Oh, I worked in the shop in the daytime and played in the pub at night. I'd go to work for 7 in the factory. And we used to work until 4:30, and the first job I took playing was for 6 nights and 2 matinees. It was a long haul, but it gave us some money for the down payment for a house, and I wanted a place of our own where the 3 of us could be together.
have been very weary at the end of some of those days.
Oh, I was. Yes, many times I've wondered how you did it, but as I say, in those days you did it. I went to work at the plant when I was 16 and retired from there at 65. Because I took a few years out to have my kids, my pension is less than $150 a month.
I felt I held down a job for 32 years. Surely it was worth something. Was it not worth anything at all to anyone? I think in our marriage, it started to end the day we were married. I stayed in the marriage until my children had grown. I knew if I was going to survive at all, that I had to leave.
I think Joyce was a very brave woman because she discovered that she couldn't live like this, and without a penny in her purse, well, maybe, what, $200 or $300, she walked out. And she's been making a life for herself entirely.
I was pretty frightened when I was first on my own. Actually, I wasn't frightened, I was desperate. And I started phoning around, trying to talk to someone. Like, none of my friends, this wasn't happening to my friends. I was all by myself. Someone told me about Dory's group, and I phoned Dory. I can remember I was at my sister's living with them then, and I got Dory on the phone and started to cry, and she talked to me for about, I think it was an hour and a half. And I just cried and cried and cried. And I went out to the group, and I had to know someone was there that knew what I was going through. You know, Dory and I have become pretty close. Anyway. I gave up my home, my security, and I'm now out on the job market, looking for a job. I can remember a job I got in the first day, and they said type a letter. And I mean, I knew I could type the letter, but all of a sudden I thought, I can't type that letter. I can't do anything. I phoned my doctor and I started to cry. I said, I can't do it. And so he said, okay, well, don't do anything then. You lay on the couch there and die. So I hung up, and then I thought, oh, damn it, I'm not going to lay on any couch and die. I can type that letter if I want to. But it's that terrible panic that comes over one. And then, you know, hey, come on, you know, you can really do it.
Good morning, Miss Lee. Have a seat. I'm sorry you had to wait, but there have been a lot of applicants for this job. Tell me about it.
I find I've really got to work on myself in the morning when I get up. Because if I go for a job interview and I see the person ahead of me come out, and she's 20 years old, and she's just, you know, come out of college or whatever. When I'm 65, I'm no longer going to be able to work. I'm sure between now and 65, I'm not going to put an awful lot of money away. The jobs I get, I just don't get paid that much. What's going to happen to me? I have no money. I have no pension. I don't want to be on welfare. I don't want to be on unemployment insurance. I want to work and look after myself. And I get angry. I get angry because I have gray hair and lines in my face from my life. I lived. Am I any less attractive than a 55-year-old man? Suddenly they get better and I get worse. I don't like that. I did go through an awful period of feeling very unattractive, and I almost thought, I'm really ugly. I must be ugly, or someone would look at me as if I was real.
One of the real problems, the sense that nobody sees you once you were a white-haired old lady.
I want to stop and scream, hey, listen, look at me. You know, I'm still a person. I might have white hair, but...
To think that older men are considered romantic and dramatic and marvelous, and old ladies...
are considered old ladies.
So I heard that you have a boyfriend.
I have a lot. What do you mean, one boyfriend? One boyfriend is nothing. Try to pull a leg, huh?
So you think you make a good girlfriend?
I suppose I was a good girlfriend till my husband passed away. I would be still a good girlfriend. I'm good to people, that's got nothing. But boyfriends, I can have them so many, my. But who wants them? You know what I tell them? It's 3 years ago already. I won the Catskills for Passover. I was twice, so there was a couple from New York, very nice couple, sitting next to me. The second year I came there, they found out that I'm alone. So he said, I got a very nice man. He's very comfortable. He's nice. Husband. I says, he's got a lot of money? Yeah. I says, all right, let him give me the money. He can stay where he is, and I'll stay where I am.
I think of myself aging, I'm surprised. I walk past the mirror and I see my mother. I became comfortable with the way I looked about 10 years ago, and it's been betraying me ever since. I've changed from the moment I became comfortable. It's changing.
Like I might have lines, you know, I'm looking older, and I meet people today and they say, your eyes sparkle, what are you doing with yourself? And I just say, I'm happy inside. I'm myself, I'm a person.
I think after I lost my husband, there was that sense of being alone and having to establish myself as a single person, which to me was the hardest thing I've ever done. And the one pronoun that bothered me most was we. No longer was there any we. It was I. And that was very, very difficult. And then when Hilda and I decided to live together, here was the we feeling back. And it was so good.
We laugh a great deal.
We do have a lot of fun.
Yes.
And another thing, just going down the street for a walk, seeing something different, or going in to have coffee somewhere, it's an adventure. I mean, it's not just ordinary. I always said I would not marry again. I had a very happy marriage, and I have children and grandchildren. What more do I need? But when Hilda came into my life and fitted so beautifully into my life, I thought to myself, if she had been a man, I can see how I might have married again. Our love for each other is what creates the happiness.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It just rides over everything else, doesn't it? Just tops everything else.
Yes, yes it does. We both had very happy marriages. We were free spirits. we were free spirits. And
Are you still free spirit?
oh yes,
Yes, indeed we are.
more so I think. I think each day we're more of a free spirit because
You know, there's something pretty special about our relationship because we seem to dovetail. There's some things Hilda's very much better at than I, and some things I'm better at than Hilda. And so that we have been willing to let the other person have that room, that space to work in. And I think that's been very helpful, hasn't it? And yet there's so many things we much prefer to do together.
Reading aloud is very good. If we have a good book, we read and discuss, and that's very good.
A very bright star with a tail glimpsed for just a moment, hurtling across the sky. They called it a falling star.
Hilda had this magazine coming in. Of course, that was intriguing. On space, she said, I'll read it to you. which she proceeded to do. And we had a great time with it. We're not going to be very much longer on Earth, so we wanted to see and hear everything we could. There seems to be all kinds of new ventures in life. Never been near 80 before. And to see 80 coming up to the next birthday, that is surprising and rather a joyous thing. Hilda had never spoken in public until this last year when she was turning 75. We feel somehow that work is part of life and we want to be a part of life. And so we both decided that Pensioners Concerned was for us.
In Pensioners Concerned, we have a very strong feeling about pensions, and especially in connection with the single woman. So many of them are in real difficulty, so that they live on tea and toast and that sort of thing. And they're very proud and they won't reveal anything. If you don't have enough to eat, you aren't going to have much energy to change things.
Our main purpose is to help older people find help where they need it, and also to let the governments and businesses and individuals know the needs of older people as we find them.
When I think of myself aging, I don't want to have to worry about money. I don't want to be alone and poor.
Oh, I wish that the position of women was better. I wish that the economic situation would change sufficiently so that all people would have a more comfortable life. Every woman would live in a comfortable place. She'd have lots to eat. She would enjoy her children. She'd have a nice home. She wouldn't have to worry about little things. There would be enough to keep her comfortable. That's so untrue for most women today.
You cannot fight this battle alone, and you have to get out of that isolation. Like I wasn't much of a fighter young, but I can still be a fighter today.
I want to fight for the things that I feel I need and deserve and want. It won't come easy. And that's really why I go to groups and that, because if they never come out and say what happened to them or how they feel, it'll never be any different. And it has to be different. It has to be different. The laws have to be changed. I mean, why do we sit and accept it all? You can't do that. You can't just sit and accept it. You have to fight for what you need and what you want.
Is it hard to see yourself as a fighter?
But I'm getting better at it.
you.